Hi all, welcome to my channel, welcome to my world. This is the world of Wayne. Welcome to Good Friday, and Good Friday build today. We're actually going to be finishing off Hachette Partworks week. We've been doing every day this week something from Hachette Partworks, and even though we did a Lancaster bomber 2 days ago, today I'm going to do the next 4 stages. That stage is 63 to 66. So when it comes to 64, we won't have much to do because obviously I did that in the last video, but we do have to install the doors onto this one here. But today we are going to be mounting the engine to the undercarriage, so we are pretty much going to have that second nacelle completed. I don't know if we fit it to the wing though, we'll have to see. I don't know if this is still available. I have put a link in the video description, and there's also that QR code on the screen. But without further ado, let's get cracking. So, stage 63 here, as you can see, we've got the undercarriage motor here and a housing, which looks just like this. And we are mounting the engine just like I said here, and that's all going to be put into place like that. This is always going to be touch and go with this, is that when we actually put this on, is the motor in here going to be driving the propeller? We will see. But I'm pretty confident where I want to have to say the other two weren't really too much of an issue for me. So let's see. Now, in issue 55, we had a little cog to go on the end of here. Now, I say cog, it's more like a sheath, as you can see there. I'm going to be putting this onto the motor. Now, it has got a star pattern on one side and a D-shaped pattern on the other. So the star pattern is just going to be going in here. Very tight fitted is. So, let's get this in. Check all my connections are in. That's good. And I'm going to be putting this into this terminal, which does mean putting the cable through. So then this can go through here. And sit in just like that. This is then going to be going on the housing here. And it's this bit here that if you have this too tight, if you make this as tight as you possibly can, it could impede that motor and stop it turning. So what you're going to see is when I put these screws in, which are B.III screws here, I'm actually going to be putting them in quite loose, just hand tight if you like. So let me show you that. One there and one there. Not tight at all. There is even a little wobble in there, as you can see. If you do find that your propeller isn't turning, these two screws are probably one of the reasons why. It might be way too tight, but we'll check that when we actually put this into, or put the actual engine on here. So what we're going to do now is going to put the bracket on this. We just need to put this cable through here, and you can see why now, but once this is in, you can't adjust those screws. So that's why it's quite a big job to actually take that off to then adjust the screws afterwards. Now, once again, these are held in with these B.III screws. And I do think something else that's going to be a big test is to actually just test motors as we go along here. So I'm going to turn that on, just check that's working. Perfect. Okay, bring over the landing gear assembly. This is what we had in the last pack. And I'm going to be putting this whole area here just on top like that. Making sure it's fitting all the way down there and holding that in once again with B.III screws. Need 2 of these. Now what I want to do now is when I attach this, I'm going to put some glue just on the 4 points here. And then ensure that the D shape of this propeller here goes in the correct way of this adapter. Lining everything up. Now, I've only put it in loose at the moment. What I am going to do is I want to check that this is working. Now, do you remember right when we started making this engine that I said that if it doesn't actually rotate when it's in here, it could be 2 things. It could be this, which I've just pointed out to you, or it could be the bearing inside here. Now, we didn't glue any of this front area. What I've just done, because mine wasn't actually turning, is I've just taken this screw and just turned it 1/4 of a turn just to loosen this up there now. Now, this is really loose in here. So, I'm pretty confident now that when I plug this in, I'm just doing now, There you go. That this is going to operate, which it does. Pretty cool as well, look. That's excellent. It's going around really fast as well. But I'm not going to put the propeller on here, because if I was to put the propeller on there, I've got a funny feeling, because we put the new base of the propeller on, that I'm not going to be able to get it off again afterwards. But as you can see, that's working absolutely perfectly. Excellent. That's all there is to do in that stage. So stage 64, a lot of this we've already done, because you see we've got the replacement hinges here, but we are going to be putting the new doors onto the nacelle that we're creating now. So just putting these into place like this, and pretty much I will test the undercarriage as well. This is the rest of the magazine. So this here is the port side door. So I'm just going to be putting this clip in. And it goes in that way. If you try and put it in the other way, it's not going to be able to open like this. So that's what way that goes in. And on the starboard door, I've got the right one here. Exactly the same way. Perfect. And what I'm going to do is, you've seen me do this a couple of days ago. We're going to be just putting this in here. So it's going over the top of the section here. Perfect. And then I'm holding that in with this section. Just like that. And then that's screwed in with DP screws. And we do need 2 of these screws. As you can see, that's one door into place. Just do exactly the same with the other one. I think because the amount of times I took them out a couple of days ago, it's pretty easy for me to get these in. DP screws to hold these into place. Getting some oil. I'm putting some oil just into these ball joints here. One here. And one here. Grab these sections and I'm going to attach these to these ball joints. One there. I think I need to have this open to actually going to quickly do that now. Otherwise it's going to be hard for me to get these in. Put this one in here. And let's give these a test. Well, they're working, but as you can see, we've still got this overlap here. There's still that problem with these new hinges here. So, see, that's perfectly lined up. Open and close. Now, when it's that way round, you're not even going to see it, to be honest with you. But it is working okay. I'm wondering, will they actually do a fix just for this? As I said, I'm still convinced that those hinges aren't a tough metal in there, and that's why it's got this play in it, as you can see. Even just moving it a little bit keeps it in that position. So, don't know, but that's all working perfectly. But that's all there is to do in that stage. So we should whiz through the last 2 stages now, where we're encasing this in the nacelle. Large section just here, looking just like that. It doesn't look like we're adding one thing, so I'm going to do the last 2 stages together. So this is just looking like that here. And as you see, we've got the other side here. I'm guessing in stage 66 here. Let's just check that out. Yep, we have. Once again, another side in here. But then I do think we push both of these together. And then I'll just check everything's working again just at the end there. Okay, so in this opening here, I've got this part just to put on. Just checking which way round it goes. It looks like this way is perfect. It does take some pushing, but that's on. And with what we have left, that's all there is to do in that stage. And then in the last stage here, same thing. I'm just going to be putting this onto this side, clipping that on there, putting this onto there, just clipping that on. And at the bottom here, I've got this control shutter that I'm going to be putting on, which just goes over the lug that I've got there. I do think this needs to be opened out just a little bit, which I've just done there. Let's see if that fits better on there. Ah, that's better. So that's fit perfectly on there now. Oops, this has come off. And then I'm going to be putting this either side here. So, keeping the wires out the way, this one's going to go on this side here. You will notice I haven't attached this where the screw is, just in case I need to adjust that screw afterwards. I've taken that off for a second, but I can do that afterwards. Put the other side on. Everything looks to be clicking into place at the moment. That's the back on. Looking good. Okay. We are good. Now, before I add any of these bits to close it together here, I'm going to check that motor again, just to make sure that's still working, which it is. Excellent. I've got an EP screw here, which is going to go into the hole just here, which will ensure these are held together. Perfect. Then I can put this just over the top, which is going to hide that screw hole. Perfect. And then the last thing to put in is just going underneath here into the pegs. Get that in. Perfect, and that's in. We're still working, as you can hear, so that's good. And that's pretty much all there is to do in that stage. Now what I'm going to do is, now we know that the motor's working, I'm just going to check that undercarriage again, because this is what was impeding the other one we had on the wing. And as you can see, they're sitting all over the place at the moment. Now let's open it. And that's where the problem is. Now all the hinges are engaged there and it does open, but when it closes, I don't know, it's not too bad, I suppose. Look at that, it's a lot better than the first one, I think, but there is, well, now you can see the problem. Look at the sides. Look at the gap on the sides there, look. So even though on top, if you look at the top camera here, it looks nice and straight, the sides tell a different story. But, I mean, it's all working. Oh, we've got a jam there because of that warpage now. I think they will have to go back and have a look at that. But we know how easy it is to change those. But there you go. I'm just glad that that's the third motor completed and working. So there you go. That's all there is to do in that stage. That's all there is to do in that pack. You know, I really do hope that I am helping with some of you. If you're having the same problems I'm having with this undercarriage here, not a lot we can do about that. But especially the motors that I said, that the 2 points, if it's not spinning normally, are the back, where you saw me do the screws at the start, and the front, that one screw at the front where the bearing is. If you loosen both of those off, it does make the shaft have that little bit of wiggle room to reduce the friction, so it works. But it's looking pretty good, but this isn't. Look at that. I don't know what's going on there. I haven't put the motor in all the way, I don't think, with this wheel, but hopefully they come up with a fix for that. Anyway, I really hope you liked that video. If you did, please remember to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, please remember to subscribe. Other than that, take care.